Here's the problem I see about most of the writing that foreigners do about Japan. The content falls usually 99% of the time into 3 categories. Number 1, anime. Japan is weird, like all the pop culture stuff, right? It's boring, it's overdone, and it paints an unfair picture about Japanese culture as a whole. 2, it takes on too much of an internal focus, right? These are stories about how we feel about the people around us, how we feel about the things happening around us, instead of sort of looking to understand how those people feel when we're interacting with them. And the third thing is, even if we are taking a more external approach to our writing, what we end up doing is taking too broad of an approach, right? There's too big of a scope, there's too much spread out instead of a more fine point, right? And it makes for a less interesting story. Now, what I've been trying to do with this new project of mine called the Japan Standard, I think this is the first time I'm talking about it on this channel, is I want to sort of avoid all of those issues. I want to get rid of the weird Japan thing. I want to focus on people who aren't me, and I want to take more of a narrow approach right now. So the Japan Standard is meant to be like an online series of character studies, right? So what I really want to do is each entry, with the exception of the editorials, I want to take a look at real people living here in Japan, and I want to give people out there maybe a more truer image of what Japan is and what its people are like and things like that. So the problem, as you saw in the beginning, is I'm having this terrible sort of writer's block, right? Daijoubu desu. Hai, ii desu yo. Hai. Yeah. The problem, as Emily talked about in her last video, writer's block, is that usually it's kind of like, it's a matter of many different things, right? It can be a matter of fear, it can be a matter of your own sort of lack of self-confidence and things like that, right? So I'm not really sure what's going on with me. I have 4 or 5 stories now that I know exactly what I want to write about. Most of them are actually most of the way complete, but my problem recently is that when I'm going back over them to read about them and sort of like edit them down and make something interesting out of them, I'm finding that the characterizations are flat or uninteresting, or maybe not boring, but maybe that's the way to put it, and it's driving me kind of crazy. For example, the story I really want to work on and get right today is the story of this little girl that I met when I was backpacking through Japan last summer. Her name was Fuwari, which is a really strange name to begin with for a Japanese girl, but that's neither here nor there. And yeah, this little girl that my hiking partner and I met, who sort of was just this incredible little person who helped us set up our tent, who insulted us a lot, who made sure we always had beer in our cups, despite her only being 4 or 5 years old. And so I guess what I'm really struggling with, if I can pinpoint that kind of fear, right, that is driving my writer's block and making me unable to finish and craft the story in a way that I feel is satisfactory, is that I'm afraid I'm not going to get her right. No, I think I'm going to move over to the pavilion just because the wind's a little bit, sheltered from the wind a little bit over there, but I guess we'll have to see what happens, right? So anyway, onward. So, having spent just about, I don't know, an hour, a little over an hour, rewriting the story for what will makes it, I guess, the 4th draft I've written of it. I think the problem is that I don't really know what the problem is. I don't know. Like, looking at it, I see that the prose is fine. Like, it's clean. Like, and this could be said for the most part of the last 3 drafts too, is that the style is my style. So whether that's good or bad is up for interpretation. But like I said, the prose is clean. I think it's a little sentimental, which is something I need to address. But other than that, I don't know why I look at it and think this isn't good enough, or I don't know that I would read this type thing. I don't know if maybe it really is just a story that doesn't translate well into the medium, but Anyway, I guess I need some perspective, is what I'm trying to say. Because I think I'm just sort of like so focused on it that I can't be objective about it. So on that note, I guess I'm gonna go get some coffee, and I'm gonna kind of get it off my mind a little bit as best I can. Maybe have another crack at it, or probably actually I'll write something different. Maybe switch gears from this non-fiction project to something fiction, just so I can sort of get it off the front burner of my brain here. But I hope Emily is ready for me to harass her until she reads my drafts and tells me where I'm going wrong with them, because that's really ultimately what needs to happen. So on that note, guys, thanks always for watching the Burrow. I hope you are finding something useful from these videos, and if you haven't done so already today, be sure to write something awesome.
But as you gain more experience, it's much more important to go outside of your comfort zone so you learn and grow as a creative person. So for me, I found it really easy to look at photos of like fashion models and stuff like that on the internet, and I would just quickly sketch them without putting any pressure on myself to